Hi everyone, welcome back to the Luxury Live Show. Today we have a very special session. I have with me here Jana from BJLuxury, and of course I've got my gorgeous co-host, fashionably Amy, here today. And yeah, I'm actually at BJLuxury doing this live, so we're gonna change the layout slightly. So we kind of look small, but you always see our faces anyway. So it will be, we're talking about, it's more about the topic. We're going to talk about bag hacks. And how are we going to run this? Well, myself and Amy, always ask us about advice of how you care for your bags, how you store your bags, how you do this. And we always give our, user experience, and we're going to share that as well. But we have the pro here who's going to say, girls, that's not the right way to do it, or it could be the right way to do it. So it's kind of like bag hacks, right? How to care for our beautiful, expensive investments and let them last for longer. Okay, so for me, I'm not so used to this new layout, but I'm going to try my best. And if you're new to this Luxury Live Show, because we do have some guests from, I guess, BJLuxury's Instagram. If you're from here, hop on over to our live stream, because you can also chat with all our Luxees and ask questions. And Amy's going to help us pull the questions over. You can ask about anything, any bag. It doesn't have to be all these beautiful Hermes bags, because that's like a big part of what we're going to show today. It could be your LV bags, your Dior bags,
any leather bags.
Any leather bags, yeah. So let me get started.
Let me just say hi to all our BJLuxury live viewers on our IG. Okay, welcome. Right, okay, guys. So this is a little unusual, like what Kat mentioned, actually, because usually our live shows are on Tuesdays. Okay, but so this is a really special show that we have, right? And please go on by to Kat L's and Fashionable Amy's YouTube channel, right? Okay, where you can actually post your questions and you can view exactly what's happening here, right? Okay, a little bit more than what you can actually see on IG, because on IG you can only see the two of us, but you can't really see on here. Amy, yeah.
So, yeah, we have Amy here if you're on IG. So say hi, Amy.
Hi, guys. Well, hi, guys. So, you guys don't see me on Instagram, I suppose, on your Instagram live, but I'm here. You'll hear my voice. And of course,
yes, definitely can hear you.
So so go by their channels, Kat L and a Fashionable Amy, right? Okay, on YouTube, and you can then catch the whole show and not miss out on anything, right? Okay, so that's just a heads up. And it's a very interesting show today.
Yeah, right? We're really excited for today because bag hacks, right? We have all our, because I've got some of my bag hacks here, but then, I mean, BJLuxury is all ready with the right things to do. It's like, I wish you could be here, Amy, because there's like so many things. Okay, so why don't I get started with a couple of just administrative things, right? So firstly, if you are new to this live show, we always ask you to put a bunch of question marks at the beginning of your question or even a comment, so that Amy will be able to see it and pull it up to the screen, and we can all look at it together. That's just some administrative, because on this StreamYard platform, the chat can get really, really busy. You could be talking to each other, can say hi to each other. So we want to make sure we get your comment or your question up. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Let's start with, I'm going to let Amy, I'm going to ask you first, right? Let's do general cleaning. Okay, general cleaning for stains. And we'll do stains first. So Amy, tell us, what do you do?
Okay, so I don't do very much because my bags are always in pristine condition. But let's just say, right, an accident can happen. Spaghetti sauce gets on my bag, right? Let's say I just spot clean. Whenever I see it, I just right away wipe it. Like I try to just wipe it with like a tissue paper first. At least get the main stuff first out. And if I need to like clean it a little further, my hack, and hopefully it's not bad, my hack is that I use these shoe wipes. So these are from Echo, and I'm not sponsored or anything.
What Jana's gonna say.
Not affiliated, nothing. But I bought these shoe wipes for my shoes, and they're supposed to be good for leather surfaces of bags and for shoes. And obviously, Echo is a big shoe brand. And I've always just used these. I only cut up a very small portion of it because they're really juicy. Actually, they're quite wet. So, and they're really big sheets. So I use this to spot clean if I needed to. That's what I've been doing. And also, I'm very careful with my bags. So usually I don't really have much issues. The only times that I would really buff the entire bag is if I've traveled with my bag for like, let's say a week or two, and I've been really using it and I feel like there's grime on it, like, sunscreen, whatever, then I will wipe it all over. But usually I just spot clean if I see anything. Otherwise, I don't do anything. I just come home, store it back to its place.
She takes care of her bags really well. Okay. Now you're done with your shoe. Let me tell you about mine, Jana. I use, according to the packet, I use baby wipes.
Okay.
I use baby wipes. And I love to use the brand Johnson & Johnson. I don't have any more, so which I'm probably going to buy after this, unless Jana says that's not the right thing to do. But I use baby wipes.
Because these are like our babies.
Yeah, they're like babies. When you watch Johnson & Johnson's, advertisement is great for the, all skin and all that, right? So I'll use baby wipes, but I always find the one that's non-fragrance. They say it's non-alcohol, and then all that kind of stuff. Like basically, it's tissue with water, apparently, right? And it's got all this vitamin E on it. Okay, so every tissue that comes out usually is really, really like juicy, right, Amy? They're really wet. So what I'll do is they're for baby wipes, right? But they're not really, I don't want to get my bag wet. So I would squeeze out all the liquid from the baby wipe. Yeah, the extra.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like a dry-ish baby wipes. It's still moist, but not too wet, right? The best kind of baby wipes for me, my hack is that when it's it's an open packet that has been dehydrated naturally, and it's kind of like the kind of baby wipes that don't really function anymore but great for bags. That is what I use to clean, just like wipe the bag before I store it, and And if I get any stains, I'll kind of like use that.
Okay,
here we go.
I know, I'm scared now.
So the what I'm hearing basically, right, is that the bags you treat it like our skin, right? The comparison is there. I do see it, right? Okay, which is true to a certain extent, right? This is basically leather, is basically skin,
Show you
right?
back.
Yeah, I was just gonna do that. So let me just put on my gloves.
I'm just gonna tell you, Amy. There are so many nice looking bags here.
Oh man, I wish I was there.
Okay. Let's see.
Right. So we've got these, let me just show you right off. We've got this Birkin 25 here. Okay, so it's Togo leather, right? It's a natural grain leather. Okay, so how do we do it here at BJLuxury? First off, right, okay, Amy, it's great that you actually start off by saying, I take great care of my bags, right? So that is actually the best thing that you can do for your bags, right? Okay, because maintenance is actually harder than prevention. Should I say that? Okay, right. So it's great that you guys are all taking good care of the bags, right? Okay. So if there is a stain or let's say a spill or something like that, okay. So first thing, yes, do clean it off, right? A clean cloth as soon as possible. Try to get rid of any stains and all that, right? And once you come back home, general thing would be okay. So here we use a soft microfiber cloth. Right, okay, it's really soft, so it doesn't scratch the bag, right? And it's great to remove like dust, any surface dirt and things like that. So that's a general one-off thing that we do all over.
So the baby wipes are okay?
So
no.
The microfiber is dry, right?
Yeah, so whichever wipes that you are using, okay, you just have to be very, very careful that it's suitable for leather. Right, it has to be specially suitable for leather. It can't be too harsh. So something that might be useful, let's say on shoes, because they usually use a hardier leather for shoes, right? Okay, might be a little harsh on these leathers. And like Hermes itself has got a variety of leathers. Right. Okay. So some are more sensitive than others. So leathers like Epsom, leathers like suede. right? Any unfinished leather, actually, right? They're really, really sensitive because they would absorb any oils or moisture that you actually apply on unfinished leather. Right, okay, so something like Togo, Clemons and all that, right? No issues, you can do your own cleaning, DIY, but those sensitive leathers, it's best to actually leave it to the professionals. No, like a proper cleaning spa, like that, right? For the cleaning aspect of it. So so what we do is, like I mentioned, we usually would actually like dust it off completely, right? And then we actually do carry our leather gels and hardware balm, right? Okay, I think you've actually talked about it, right, Kat?
Yeah, I actually
Okay.
really liked it.
So why we like this? Because it's very gentle, right? Okay, and most of the time, it's water based. It's not oil based. Okay, so this is basically what we have, and so you actually shake it, right? And then you don't use too much, right? So the part about squeezing out the excess and all that, right? Yes, it's better to build up rather than take on a whole large amount and then slather it onto the leather itself. Okay, so let me just show it to you. Okay,
So I have one of these. It's actually made specially for them by Colonial. So
Yeah.
Colonial is a really we know Colonial as a brand for cleaning, right? So I actually used this and it's really good.
So it's dual purpose. So this moisturizes as well as cleans, right? So it is really gentle compared to something that
And the smell is almost nothing.
Yeah, it's there's no fragrance in it, right? Okay, and I mentioned it's a water based, right? Because oil based leathers sometimes tend to absorb the oils, and you might end up with spots. Or like oil stains and all that, right? Okay, so the thing is, we don't actually take it from the tub itself, right? It's usually take it from the cap. So just a little bit, we dab it onto the cloth. Let me just show you. Okay, so we just take it from the cap itself, okay, and then we sort of spread it onto the cloth, and it's best to start off in a discrete corner, for example, under the sangle, right? Let me just open this up. Okay, so perhaps at the back, right, somewhere to just try it, or even on the inside, just a tiny dot, and then you just clean it. Right, wait a while, let it dry for a while, and see whether the leather darkens or lightens.
Lighten?
Yes, so it could go either way. It could either darken or lighten, right? Okay, if that happens, please stop. Right?
Please
okay?
stop. That's
Yeah.
it. Please stop. Don't do anything else.
Right, so then you know that whatever you're using is a little too harsh for your leather, right? If not, just then you can continue with wherever you see, right? So if there is a particular stain or dirt or anything like that, then on that place itself, okay, you would just gently sort of clean in a circular motion. Don't apply too much pressure. Okay, that's something that we actually realize. You shouldn't apply too much pressure. It's like a medium pressure.
How does it feel like when you say medium pressure? Does it feel like putting like moisturizer on your face?
Okay, so basically start with less, and then you try and see how much pressure you need to clean off that stain. Right? Because if you go on and like, okay, I'm going to clean and go all the way out, right? What's going to happen is your grains are going to flatten out. Yes. So that could actually happen. And when that happens, and especially if you're doing spot cleaning, right? Okay, you're going to end up with one part that's different from the rest of the bag. So when it catches the light, you actually see like a patch compared to the rest of it. It will not be even.
Right.
Okay. So, which actually brings me to another point. You shouldn't spot clean. Of course, if there is a particular what do you call that, stain that you want to remove, yeah, okay, you just clean that off. After that, right, it's always good to do the whole area. Right. Two things. One, it actually because like these, right, moisturize the leather, so it's good to, of course, moisturize the whole bag. Right, and in case, right, your cleaner actually does change the color slightly, darken it or lighten it, right, actually you end up with an even tone, right?
So in a
at
way,
least,
this was very good because when we spoke that time, we said that usually a lot of us will just focus. Let's say that's where the spot is.
Yeah.
We will just
Yeah.
clean around that, maybe a little bigger. But what I'm hearing is you actually need to do the whole piece of leather
Yes.
and make it like kind of even it out.
Even it out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So spot cleaning is actually not a good thing. Oh my gosh.
So it's and the other thing that I heard Amy mention as well, right, was that if you go out and use the bag and then you come back, or you travel with the bag, and when you come back, you sort of clean the whole bag before actually storing it, right? So that is actually the best time to clean the bag. If you have been using it for about a week or so, and then you're going to rotate to another bag, right? Before you store your bag, right, at that point, you can actually do this, dust the bag, moisturize it, air the bag, right, in a well ventilated room, right, and then you sort of, once it's ready, put it in a dust bag, and then you put it away. Right, you can store that.
Great.
Right,
Thank you.
most
Thank you.
welcome.
Wow.
We have so many questions already, but they're not like I might sort of like stagger them depending on the topic.
Why don't we pick the ones on cleaning first?
Yeah,
I can see there's so many questions. Oh my God.
Eileen is asking, can we use a wet tissue to clean our leather bags before we keep them in a dust bag or a box? And also, Jenna, I wanted to ask, for that product that you have, is it good on across all leathers? So we're talking lambskin, calf skin,
Yes.
pebbles, and then also maybe even vachetta, which is untreated skin, right? So
Okay, so this leather product can actually be used on most leathers, except exotics and untreated leather. They're out. These two are definitely out.
Untreated is like
suede.
Suede,
Yeah.
Barenia.
Okay, Barenia actually has got its own leather cleaning method.
Oh,
That's right. So you can actually just use plain leather wipes that you use, for example, your car seat, the leather wipes. Okay, so Barenia is one of the easiest leathers to clean, really. So you just have to use your leather wipes, and you just, again, it's not spot cleaning. You have to do the entire bag. So it goes a dark shade, right? Because it absorbs the oils, right? And once it dries out, you get that beautiful sheen all over.
Wow.
Yeah. So Barenia is actually really, really easy, and you can do it on your own, right? Okay.
So this is good for, I guess most of us don't have, majority of people would not have very variety of bags, right? But variety of leather bags.
Yeah.
So I would say lambskin would be good.
Yes, sure.
Caviar. Caviar as well?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
So you can use it on your Chanel caviar. You can use it on your Chanel lambskin, right? Hermes, Clemons, and Togo, and all the other leathers, really.
Yep.
Evercolor to a certain extent, right?
Swift,
yes, but always try it out first, because Swift is a very smooth leather. So the reason is that it's basically the science behind it, right? Okay, because it's a smooth leather, so it absorbs the pigmentation really well for Swift leather, which also means that it gives it off easily. Right, so always apply it on a small area and see whether the color comes off, whether there's much of a difference, and then you can confidently use it on the rest. But so far we've actually used it on Swift and actually no issues. Yeah.
So I guess to Eileen's question, wet tissue she doesn't really recommend
Yes, bottom line.
Eileen, don't do it.
Because wet tissues, right? I mean, if there's an accident and on the spot, you do need to clean, you wouldn't really be carrying all this cleaning stuff around with you, right? So on the spot, when it happens, if there's a spill, right? Of course, we can always use a wet tissue to clean off the spill, right? But once you go back, it's always best to top it up rather with this cleaning gels and the correct method, I should say, right? Because maintaining the value of these bags, right, is really, really important. And one way, of course, is if we were to look after these leathers to make them last longer, right? So this is something that you can do quite easily.
I see. There's two more questions around about cleaning. What about Apple Guard products?
Have you heard of Apple Guard?
Is it something
Okay.
from the US?
Yeah.
Right.
So is this
yes.
it's very, very popular
Right.
in the YouTube space,
Right.
and a lot of
people
use this cleaner called Apple
Right.
Guard.
Right. Right. So so I'm sure there's lots of generic cleaners out there. Right. It's just that we recommend this because we have used it and we are confident that it does with what it's supposed to do, which is basically maintains and clean moisturizes and cleans the leather. Right. Okay. So if there are other products that are being used, suggestion of course would be to do a test on a small area. Right. Find out how your bag's leather reacts to that particular cleaning product that you're using, and and basically listen to the bag. So if the color doesn't darken or lighten, right, okay, then go ahead and use it.
I guess it's like I'm not sure if you can actually see the ingredient list in this like Apple Guide. I don't think so. But what's one one ingredient, if we could find it, what's one ingredient and so you go, okay, if that cleaning product contains this right at the top, please avoid it.
I would say alcohol, right? Okay, because any harsh chemical for that matter, right? Okay, let alone alcohol, right? Okay, any harsh chemical, right, basically would dry out the leather, can strip the color.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So these are some things that you want to avoid. Yeah.
I love skincare.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I buy like moisturizers, even though it's a moisturizer and you look at the ingredient list, the first thing will be like certain kind of shea butter, but then the second ingredient at the top is alcohol. You're like, hello, you're supposed to be a moisturizer, but you also have a really high content of alcohol, which
astringent, so it actually dries out.
It dries out, so it's such a weird thing to put, but I think what they do with the alcohol is thins out the material and it makes it easier to spread. I mean, talking about moisturizer, but maybe that happens with certain.
I mean, the same principle how you choose your skincare, right? Okay, so I have friends who are like, this is the best skincare for you. Okay, you go and try and use it. So I would of course get it and then I would apply it on my skin and then I would break out in rashes.
Yeah.
So there's no like one product that is great for every single type of skin, and it's the same thing with these leather bags, right? Okay,
you have to try it out.
You have to try it out to a certain extent, right? But some are safer than others.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So whichever product you get, right, it's best to just do it on a small area of your bag, in a discreet corner, perhaps on the inside, right? Okay, and then let it dry out. Wait for a couple of hours. See how the leather reacts. If it's fine, go ahead and use it. Right. If it's not, then try and get another
cleaner.
Product. Yeah.
I think Jana summarized that for us really well, because I there's like several more questions, but to me when I'm reading them, it sounds like you might need professional help. So I am Julia. She's asking, she has a vintage Chanel bag. Should I send it to the spa if it's dirty? Any recommendation? She's afraid that it will alter the buttery softness. And then not a black classic flap also asking how to remove oil stain from a Chanel lambskin. I heard you can use talcum powder, dish soap, this and that. I feel like these are all very extremes. And from what Jana is saying, don't do it, basically.
Yeah, so because you see, so vintage bags especially, right? Okay, so they are gorgeous pieces. They are like one of a kind, right? And it's really best to leave it to the professionals. They know exactly what they're doing, right? I mean, we are in the industry of bags, and so we are trying to, maintain them as best as we can. But even when we see something that, perhaps when we are in doubt and things like that, we pass on the bag to the professional cleaners.
Yeah. So I guess this is more for like general cleaning, right? General cleaning, caring and maintaining it. But if you need help, even it's like they'll say, go back to the Hermes spa.
Yes, that's best. So and of course the other thing is, when you do send it for cleaning to your local third-party spa, it's best to say not to do any recoloring, things like just clean, right? If you do need something a little bit more major, send it back to Hermes spa itself. right? They are the experts.
When it comes to Hermes bags, but
Yes.
Chanel, I guess they have that warranty.
Yep.
Then just bring to a good spa, a
That's right.
reputable one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Chanel only requires repairs done at their boutique
Right,
spas.
right.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick one on smells. So honestly, I like what we do, right? From how do you take care of smells? But you don't buy vintage
Me?
bags, right? You just mostly new. But if you have smells,
Yeah,
like, what do you
I
do?
buy new bags. Very rarely do I buy like a used bag, and I am very sensitive to any fragrance or any smell. Even though sometimes they can be pleasant, but I'm just very sensitive. So when that happens, like if I get a used bag that has some smell, I just let it air out. Usually over time, like few weeks later or sometimes like a month later, it will subside and I won't notice it as much. That's the only thing I do. But yeah, usually I just buy brand new so I avoid that issue altogether.
Yeah, with smells, same. I don't have like I used to have a few like older bags, but I've had, touch wood. There's no wood here, but wood. I haven't had any experience with smells, like bags that I've received. But a lot of our audience, with the resale market, and they have a lot of, especially LV, right? LV gets sold a lot, in the resale market. I have heard that sometimes when they receive it, it does smell like maybe from old musky smells.
Right. Yes.
So what do you recommend? Like I have no hack for this. Amy, you have no hack for this. Like, what's a hack to maybe not get rid of it entirely? I don't think we could do that unless you bring it to a spa, but sort of maybe minimize it.
Okay, so when it comes to smells, right? Okay, what you mentioned would be there's a moldy, musky smell. Okay, so that's one type of smell. The other thing, of course, is that from perfumes, because certain bags we keep them, it's shoulder carried, right? So it's held close to our bodies, and the leather being a natural living skin, right? Basically, it absorbs these smells. Right. And the third kind of smell that we've actually noticed in bags, right, are mothballs or naphthalene balls, right? Okay. So sometimes people use that in their bags.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Okay. And then when we open up the bags that come in, we're like,
oh no. So what do you do?
Okay, so there are a few things that you can do to tackle these smells. Okay, the easiest one would be, please don't put mothballs in the bags.
Just don't do it. Don't put mothballs.
Okay, because they do more harm than good.
Oh, actually, no. Maybe it's not about putting the mothballs in the bag. It's putting the bag in a cabinet that had mothballs.
Yeah, in the cupboard or the wardrobe, right?
So that could also be another.
Yes, that could be a possibility. Yeah, but it's very, very strong, right? Okay, so the smell and the mothball smell is very difficult to get rid of.
Oh.
Right, it sort of permeates the whole leather, right? And it's very difficult to get rid of. So, that's one thing which is a big no-no. Okay, no mothballs, right? So what do? We actually use these desiccants that we have. Now, these are not actually our products, as you can see, right? Okay,
and not theirs.
Yeah, it's not BJ.
I know. Wait, I have it. I have also.
Everybody has desiccants.
This is what I use.
This is what we use.
Like after this show, I'm grabbing these. I'm sorry if you're in Singapore. I'm taking some already. Bye.
So
I know. Next time.
Actually, again, they are organic, right? Okay. This is what it looks on the inside. Okay, it's basically this. It's like a membrane, right? Okay, it's a plastic-like membrane, and the inside, right, is made up of a few organic things, right? It's antimicrobial, right? And what happens is it actually diffuses. The vapor sort of diffuses, and it kills germs that it comes into contact with. It absorbs moisture, right? Which are two things that are really, really useful when you are storing your bag, right? Because moisture and bacteria cause mold. So that musky smell that you get, right, is an indication that there's mold.
And it's bacteria and all that.
Yes,
Oh, that
correct.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to prevent that musky smell, we actually use these desiccants. These last for anywhere between 6 to 12 months. One piece, right? So you can just drop one in a bag and leave it around your wardrobe rather than mothballs. So you can actually drop these or any desiccants. Yeah. Okay.
So what about those desiccants that, Amy, show your desiccants.
Yeah,
Do those
so-
help? I mean, are they better than nothing?
Okay, so is that the silica gel one?
Yeah,
So
so
it's
I
a
have the
super-
silica gel ones. This one,
Yes.
actually, I got it from a purchase of a sports bag and it was inside. So,
Right, yes.
but usually
So-
I have the silica gels, like the silica packs from because I buy a lot of supplements and I have a lot of
Those
these.
in the
Yes.
supplements,
Yes.
we keep them.
Inside.
Are they better than nothing?
Yes, definitely.
Better than nothing.
So any dehumidifier, right, or rather these desiccants, right? These desiccants absorb moisture, right? Silica gel, they turn pink. They'll change color, for example, right? The thing about silica gel is it absorbs the moisture very quickly, right? So the shelf life of one silica gel packet, for example, right, could be maybe a month or something. So you can use it, but you need a
replace.
lot. Yeah,
Right.
you need a lot of it. So you keep replenishing and replacing it, right? Whereas something like what we use, it lasts for about 6 months, 12 years.
That's
right?
interesting, huh?
So it's very flat. It's really tiny, but it's like power packed.
I wonder
You
if
know,
this
so
is
it
exactly
smells
what
like
I got
wasabi.
in my purchase.
It's the strangest thing. It smells like wasabi. It has a really strange smell, but it doesn't make the bag smell like
No.
wasabi. It's so weird.
It doesn't leave any traces of
There's
the
nothing.
smell itself, of the desiccant that we use. What the other thing is, of course, whichever desiccant you use, just be mindful that it's not the kind that turns to liquid once it absorbs the moisture.
Yeah. So those hippo.
We won't say anything. Right? But
Anyway, those containers
Yes,
and
yes. When they turn to liquid, the of course the danger is that sometimes
spill.
it overflows and then could actually damage your bags.
And you have seen bags.
Yes.
They have seen like multiple Hermes bags damaged by these liquid type dehumidifiers.
Yeah.
Actually, on YouTube, there was one video a few years ago, right, Amy?
Yeah, she's an Australian YouTuber.
She was an Australian YouTuber.
Right.
She had like her bags in the cabinet,
Right.
and the dehumidifier box didn't topple. It didn't topple,
Yes.
but there was a crack. So as when it's new, you can't see it, right? But when it started to fill up,
Yes.
it actually dripped through the
Shelf.
the shelf because maybe
It's very
quite,
thick.
It's very thick, and maybe the shelf is not like hardwood, but basically it leaked through the shelf and then dripped onto her Birkin, and it was destroyed.
Oh my god.
It was destroyed.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So that was something that we were
So
like, oh my
there
gosh.
are such horror stories that we hear. Okay, they're really horror stories, gives us nightmares. So, to prevent accidents like that, right? So it's best to not use any of these
Desiccants or
humidifiers that turn to liquid once it absorbs the moisture.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Unless, of course, you're going to be diligently like looking out, checking. I mean, we're all busy. So
Yeah. True. There's a question from Annie.
Yes. She wants to ask if you can include links to all the products that you're mentioning in this video.
Okay, so just to let everyone know, this is not a sale video.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm the one who requested, said you have all these amazing things in your store, but you're keeping it for yourself. Like, let us have some. So they actually don't have like a proper link. So anyway, we'll figure this out, Annie.
Okay.
And
okay.
I'm lucky because I'm gonna walk home with one of these after this. And if you're in Singapore, you can come here. But you don't do it overseas and all
so
that.
like I said, these are not actually our own products.
And they're not your own,
It's
actually.
not something that we are aggressively promoting or selling, right? Okay, it's just like I said, we want to make sure that the bags, right? Okay, maintain the value, right? In the long run, right? So what are some of the things that you can do to, when you store the bags, when you clean the bags, for example, right? Okay, we don't want these gorgeous beauties damaged or things like that.
So since you can't get this, I guess those desiccants that Amy showed, they could work, but it's just that we have to replenish it more often, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that's another hack, right?
Yeah. If we, once we are able to get enough, or maybe we'll speak to the supplier and we'll see whether we can share the link.
We'll figure out how to put it on the link. But yeah, thank you. Okay, hang on. I know Joe is going into the humidity. Let me just make sure the banner is updated. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So before Joe's question, so we're gonna go for leather care, and this is humidity as well as dry weather.
Yes.
So Amy, what do you do? I guess we put dry weather mainly for those in the US and Western.
I'm kind of lucky because I live in Canada. I mean, it's arguable that we have 4 very distinct seasons. It's actually really cold right now, so our weather actually changes a lot. But inside the houses, it's well controlled because we have heaters and then we have air cons. Well, technically in Vancouver, a lot of people don't have air cons, but in general, I find that our weather condition is not so humid, at least. It gets a little humid, but it's not so humid, and it's usually just for a couple months. So I don't have issues with dealing with over humidity for my bags. I've just been storing them normally inside my billy shelves, and that's it. I never have any ever issues, and I've been doing that for at least over a decade. So I don't do anything about humidity.
What about dry weather? Because your site's cold and
it's cold, but again, so I used to live in Montreal, it gets even drier because the heaters are on. Because when it's -30 outside, you need the heaters to be on all the time. However, I don't live there anymore, so Vancouver is more well controlled in that sense. Is that our coldest is -10 and it lasts a few weeks. It's not going to be -10 for 3 months. And then on average, it's going to be between -10 to 20 degrees usually, throughout the year, right? So I don't have that extreme humidity change that affects my bags. I have not had to do anything. Honest God, I have not done anything. So I'm really, really lucky. I feel like if I did live in Montreal where it was very, very dry, I don't know, because back then I didn't have that kind of collection. So so now I'm in a good place for my bags. They are in a good place.
You got no hack for that. For Singapore, mine is humidity, and unfortunately, it's the hippos. It's the hippos. It's the dehumidifier packs. But I'm really good about it. Meaning, I do it. I check it every week. So So I guess maybe the paranoia of what you say. It'll leak. And so I'm quite diligent about opening my cabinet and checking all these packets, right? I'm like, ooh, are you full? And usually I don't even leave it until it's full. It's half full, and I'll take it out and I'll change it already. So that's what I do for humidity.
Right.
I also take my bags out, air them, but in an aircon room. Because oh no, that's not good.
Okay.
I take them out, I open them from the dust bag, and I kind of when it's really hot in Singapore, it gets really humid and it's wet and sticky. It's really gross. So what I would do is I'll turn on the aircon for a couple of hours to kind of cool down, and I'll leave my bags out. That's one of the things that I do for humidity.
Okay.
She's gonna come at me.
Okay. So again, the rule of thumb, right, is basically this is skin, right? Okay, and sometimes what's good for our skin is also good for them, right? Basically, it's extreme difference. Why does humidity affect these leathers, right? Because of the moisture, right? It causes mold. right? So let's tackle our part of the hemisphere first.
Okay, we'll do Singapore first. And
We'll do
Canada
the
later.
high humidity issues first, right? Okay. So the humidity causes mold to grow, because that's primary school science experiment.
Bacteria.
And heat, right? The heat causes these humidity. All these are the perfect combination to create mold, growth of mold, right? So you don't want that. Okay, so you don't want that. So how do you prevent it? Of course, one, the desiccants, the dehumidifiers, get rid of the humidity surrounding the bag, right? And every 3 months or so, take your bags out, okay, like what you're doing, okay, and air them, but not in the aircon. Okay, so well ventilated room is the best, right? Okay, so when there's a, let's say, the breeze and all that, right, it would sort of get the humidity to evaporate, so to speak, right? Okay, so why aircon is not good, right? So would be from, let's say, when you turn on the aircon, right, and then when you turn it off, there's condensation, so you're actually creating more moisture rather than airing out your bag.
Say that again. So it's supposed to be drying, right? So if you turn on the aircon
and then you turn it off, right? When the temperature rises, there's going to be condensation and there's going to be more humidity in the atmosphere, right? You know, like even when we sleep in the aircon and you know, if you were to step out, and your room, for example, is air conditioned, and then you step out of an air conditioned room, right? You would immediately feel that stickiness. Yeah. Okay. So it's the same thing. That stickiness is basically condensation. So you feel the humidity. You know, that difference in the temperature, right? So the same thing is going to happen in the bags. So that's why we prefer, not to turn on the aircon when you are air drying your bags, when you're ventilating your bags, right? So just open up your windows, right? Okay. So two things: do not place your bags in the sun.
Yeah.
Okay, so no direct sunlight to your bags, because the direct sun would actually cause the color to fade, and it would dry out the leather, right? So if you're using your bags and you're walking about in the sun, all that, it's a different method because you're handling it. But if you just leave it there, it's
like sun tanning, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Get roasted there,
right? Okay, so you don't want that happening. Okay, and of course you don't place your bags. So we have people who say, okay, so I'm going to turn on the aircon the whole time for my bag so that it's a controlled temperature. So it's a constant temperature. Okay, yes, good, but has anybody tried sitting in an air-conditioned room for like a month? Your skin dries out.
Yeah. So how do you? So you see. You need to reduce the humidity, right? And I brought this because I have one of these. Obviously, you can't see. I have one of these, like a really cheap Shopee humidity. It reads the humidity.
Yes.
And I was just going to ask Jana, like, what's the best level? Like, what's a good level to be? Because when my little counter here goes 70% humidity, there's an angry face. It's like, wet. So what's a good...
Okay, so we actually use a dehumidifier as well, right? Okay, in store. And we actually set it at around 40 to 50%.
So this is a good humidity here right now. It's 47% now. It's perfect.
Okay, but so I just got updates.
About 50.
Yeah, 50 to 55.
Okay,
yeah, 50 to 55 should be the correct humidity level. Basically, your mid-range.
Yeah, about middle.
Yeah, so you don't. So it's just striking a balance. You don't want extreme humidity, neither do you want extreme dryness. So either one is not good for your leather bags. Right, so placing your bags in direct sunlight dries them out. You also don't want to place them near an aircon vent, near the aircon vent, or even near the toilet. If your wardrobe or your cupboard, your storage area is near the toilet, what happens is after a shower, the humidity from your shower actually would get absorbed into these bags. So where you place your bags in terms of storage also matters. So sometimes we have some consigners or owners, right, who come in and say, every bag that I have, it seems to be going moldy. What's the issue? It could be basically where you're storing your bags, how you're storing your bags.
So if your cabinet is sort of close to your, especially like some of us have our cabinets maybe in the master bedroom,
walk-in wardrobe,
or walk-in wardrobe
near the toilet,
that moisture goes in.
Yes, it gets trapped. Because in a walk-in wardrobe, right, there's basically just your door.
Yeah.
Where's the moisture going out to? So your bags and all, right, should actually be brought out into a well-ventilated room, not in direct sunlight, and just air them out for a couple of hours, and then clean them, moisturize and clean them all over, right? No spot cleaning.
No spot cleaning,
Yes.
remember that?
And then store them back, and you can keep it in the cupboard. Right,
Yeah.
so that's a great.
This is a great little tool.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate it is, but it gives you a general idea.
Yes.
Just batteries, and when it's high, like because I actually took this out from my cabinet, just with you can see the reading just go up. At the high humidity here in Singapore is 81%.
Wow.
And today is really high because it's raining,
Yes,
right? And then
yes.
with the water and all of
Yes,
that,
yes.
so high.
So
80.
is that 47% our store?
Yeah, so it's around 50. So
Yeah,
it's
okay.
around that. I think it
We are
has
safe.
plus minus 5%.
Okay.
So actually the temperature here is perfect.
Yeah.
But 81% plus minus 5% today outside is it's so
very
humid in Singapore.
Yes,
It's just
it is
crazy. Okay, so let's go to dry weather.
Okay, so the same thing with a drier climate, right? So what
And
happens?
they will have heaters, right? Because it's cold,
Yes.
then you got heaters.
Yes. So you have heaters. So of course, but it's dry heat, right? So your leathers tend to sort of, this is a beautiful color, right? So Kelly 25 blue Zanzibar with palladium hardware.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Very
really
pretty.
nice.
It's a very pretty bag, right? So with dry weather, right, it causes dryness. So your lacquer, especially at the handle
The
area,
glazing here.
yes, okay, it tends to split because of dryness.
Oh.
Or your sangles, right, you will see it start cracking.
Like lines, like your lips.
Yes, like dry, cracked lips, right? So you see, so you have to, your body is your temple. Same thing.
Your bag is the temple.
So you do need to look after these because they are living, breathing, leathers, right? So the same care, right? Same, understanding, right? Should actually go into how you maintain these leather bags. And so for dry weather, you need more moisturizing products, right? So the thing is that the one that we use is a combination of cleaning and moisturizing. So there's no very strong moisturizer, neither is there a very strong cleaning agent in this, right? So if you are using a purely moisturizing balm, for example, do note that it would be a lot creamier, right? So you need to start off with less and then build up on the products. So always be side on the
side of safety.
Yes. So you don't want to start off and then do a quick job. What you want to do is take it slow, build up, and then you sort of clean it and moisturize it. Right?
I guess the same concept will apply if, let's say, if you live like where Amy is, and it's dry, it's cold, but you still need to maintain that. In a way, even though it's cold, that you need to maintain the humidity in your place at a same about 45 to 50, about 50%, 50% like that, right?
So they would use a humidifier.
You would use a humidifier.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rerun is basically what we use, right? We use a dehumidifier, and there you would probably need a humidifier.
Yeah, add some water back into the. Yeah, because every time I visit, go to America or cold countries, it's so dry, and when the heater is on, it's just I can feel myself just turning into a raisin.
You're just not used to it because we are here all the time. So when it changes weather, it's still changing gradually. So we are changing with the weather and the climate. So we don't feel it as drastically as when you just arrived from Singapore.
True.
Yeah, good point with like just maintaining like the
Yes.
humidity and the temperature. I think that's what
Yeah.
I've been doing, and like my bags are nowhere near any washrooms or anything like that. And my cabinet, I like the moment I open it, all my bags are exposed, so they are constantly getting aired out anyway. So that's why I've not have any problems. And like I said, even though the climate does change outside, we are adjusting it as we go every day, right? We don't just crank it up to like 30 degrees all of a sudden. You just kind of like go a little by little every day. If it gets a little colder, you go a little higher, and then you maintain it at that level that is comfortable even for us. I'm not sure if we are gonna tackle because this is sort of about scratches, I think.
Well, we could take it. Yeah, Chris is asking a question.
Yeah. So Chris is asking, I had tied a twilly around the handles of my pochette métis bag and it is become sticky. Is it fine to put a twilly on? And then Viv also similar question. How often do we remove the twillies from our bags to ensure that the handles of our bags remain pristine?
Yes. So your bags, right? Okay. So Twilly, right? They usually use it to protect the handles as well as to personalize or make it look prettier. Okay. So you can leave them on for about 2 to 3 months, no issues, right? But if you're going to be storing your bags for any longer, it's best to actually remove the Twilly. So as long as you are using and handling the bags, right, what happens is the natural oils and all come out of the leather, so you can safely leave them on and all when you're using them, right? But the moment you put the bags into storage, right, it's best to remove it. So even if it's like after a month of using, you decide to store the bag, right, please remove the Twilly. So actually there's this whole area of how you store your bags, right? And
we're going to do that as well. We're going to do that as well. How do you stuff the bag and all that? We're going to talk about that.
So storage, right? So when you store your bags, always remove the Twilly, because if you leave them on, what happens is you actually end up with press marks. Because the Twillies can be tied on quite tightly, right? So that it doesn't slip out of place, and that leaves press marks on the handles in the long run if you don't remove them when you store the bags. So but otherwise it's fine to leave them on as you're using the bags, even up to 2-3 months, right? It's okay. So the stickiness of the handles, the Twilly, yes, it does prevent you from, when you hold your bag handle, right, you don't feel the stickiness, but the stickiness is still there, right? And so the question is, what's causing the stickiness? Is it mold, right? So if that is the root cause, it's best to get rid of that problem, and then you put on the Twilly to protect it.
So if it's already sticky, what can we do?
You can clean it. Okay, so this is actually an what is it called? Antimicrobial solution. This is to prevent mold.
But if you got mold already?
Okay, so this
two questions. Right? One is prevented.
Yes.
Haven't happened yet. But what if it's already a little moldy?
Okay.
Does this help?
A little moldy. This is more for the dust bags and the boxes. Not so much for the bags itself.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So if you are going to be using it on the bag, then you spray it onto your cloth, right? And then you give it a rub.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's to get rid of the bacteria and and then obviously that creates the mold.
Yes. So it sort of kills the germs and whatever bacteria and all that are on it. Yeah. Okay. So but for boxes, before you store your bags, right? Okay. Even for new boxes, so we just give it a quick spray. Whenever we get the bags and the boxes, we spray the box, we wipe it down, and then we sort of store the boxes.
This is so good because I have actually had moldy boxes.
Yes.
In Singapore, sometimes when I keep, especially my Hermes box, I had my garden party, which I actually tossed the box because I kept it for a while in my cabinet, and I never put my bag inside. But afterwards, I'm going to sell my garden party, and I took the box out, and I was like, oh my god, my box was mold. It had like round
Ooh,
like little circles of mold, but it's sort of like absorbed into the box. And I was like,
yes.
is my box moldy?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
disgusting. So I tossed it.
Yeah. So men's boxes are notorious for going moldy. That's the first thing
That's interesting.
that goes, right? Okay. So that's again, it's
I'm going to
our
spray all my
climate,
boxes when I go
right?
home.
It's the humidity in the air that's causing this mold, right?
Right.
So this solution, right? When you spray it on, it mold is airborne.
Yeah.
Right. So it's basically existing in the air. So given the correct conditions, it will start to bloom. Right. So that's why it's circular. It's blooming.
It's blooming. Oh, my God. That's I mean, that was quite a while ago, and I was so freaked out by it.
So yes, so these would help. So when you are actually airing your bags, right, your dust bags and your boxes can be put into direct sunlight. It kills any mold that's actually there. So that's the only things that you put in direct sunlight, right? Because the heat would actually get rid of the mold, dry out all this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if it's sticky, so this question is from Diana, I can't read it, but
what can we do if the leather of the bag turns sticky? Right. Okay. So again, the leather turns sticky, right? Is actually an indication of mold growing. Yeah. So that's actually how you sort of know. Right, so that stickiness is basically the first signs that there's mold growing on your bag already. Of course, the other thing is if you spill something and then it's sticky, that's easy, right?
I actually didn't know this. I didn't know this at all. That it's, I had one bag that I almost bought like years ago.
Right.
And one of the things is like, I was like, oh, your bag's kind of like, I mean, it's clean, but it just feels a bit.
I mean, we can't see,
but
unless it's really
sticky.
extreme, right? Yeah. But so when we usually handle the bags with gloves here at BJLuxury, but there will be a time when we actually purposely remove the gloves and touch the leather to see whether there's any dryness, and also whether the sticky issue is there. So that's actually an indication that there's mold starting to grow. So clean it. Right. Okay. So a simple answer would be to clean it. Right. If it is not, already growing, taken root. Right. If the mold hasn't taken root, it's very simple. You can just clean it off. Air the bag, and then you have to do this every week or so till that stickiness sort of goes off. Right? Okay.
So you just constantly
every week
get it.
Yeah, but not in the direct sun. No, you don't put it on the direct sun. Okay, just a well ventilated room. Okay, and then you sort of clean it and then you air it. Right, then you can keep it in and then you have to repeat it again. Right. Of course, if the mold has taken root, then you need professional cleaning. For it, and you can then, like I said, leave it to the experts to clean that, because once the
mold has gone into the leather,
there will be mold spots, which would be visible to the naked eye. Right. So if you see spots, right, on your leather, that means the mold has taken root already, right? And if it's caught quickly, you can actually clean that off as well. And professionally, they can kill the mold and then they can clean it off. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not the end. It's not the end. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So Eileen is asking, if we don't really use our bags and it is kept in the dust bag and the box, do you need to take it out to air and clean occasionally? And occasionally, how often, if you have to do that?
Yes. Quick answer, definitely needs to be taken out. Okay, so the dust bags, right, are non-porous. Right, basically it means it doesn't
I have
breathe.
one dust bag here.
Yeah.
Let me just take one out. Okay,
so Hermes dust bags are really good quality. They're really, really thick, right? Okay, and therein lies the problem. So it's difficult. It's not breathable.
It's not breathable. Oh, yeah, okay.
It's not breathable. So the weave, right, is very close.
It's so good quality.
It's so good quality.
What about Chanel?
Yes. Therefore,
overdoing it, Hermes.
So it protects the bag. Right. Okay. So it protects the bag from, let's say, any press marks and things like that. Right. It does offer some protection in terms of that. But you have to take it out of your dust bag and air it. And then you can, of course, either dry clean, right? Okay. We don't recommend washing your dust bag because it actually goes out of shape.
Okay.
Even when you hand wash it, right? Right, and sometimes it stains because the
This one,
string,
my color might run.
the color runs.
Dry clean your dust bags.
Don't
Right.
clean your
Okay.
dust bags.
So you have to clean the dust bag itself,
Oh,
right? Put it out in or at least every 2 months or 3 months, right? You put your dust bag in the direct sun, right? Air them out inside out, and stuff like that.
Okay, we have one more dust bag, which is
The Chanel.
dust bags, which are notorious for I don't know what, but they kind of like
They flake.
they flake.
Yeah. So so because I think the material of that's used, right? Where Hermes is basically like cotton. Yeah. This is not cotton. It feels like silky velvet suede sort of finish to it. So again, right, don't store them in the dust bag completely covered, right? This is a little bit more breathable compared to the Hermes ones, but again, you do have to take them out of the dust bag, clean the dust bag or air the dust bag at the same time that you're airing your bags. It's best not to store your bags in the boxes because the boxes, right, okay, they trap moisture, and like what you mentioned, it sort of seems like a hotbed for mold, So mold is airborne. So it's basically, if there's mold on your box, high chance that there's going to be mold passed on to your bags. So we don't want that happening. So it's best not to store your bags in the boxes.
Okay, I'm going to pull this one since we're talking about storage already.
Yes.
So moving into storage.
Yeah. So when you store your bags, right, okay, certain things that you want to do and certain things that you don't want to do, right, okay. So like, for example, your Chanel bags, okay, or even any bag, right, you don't want press marks. Okay, so one hack of how you can actually use your dust bag. Okay, so I've got a WOC here.
Wow, yep.
Yeah, and okay, let me just show you how we do it. Okay, your WC actually has got a zipper, or a lot of the Chanel bags actually have this zipper. And one thing that you would see, right, if you were to close and do that, the zipper is actually pressing against the interior. And so even for new bags, right, sometimes we see the press mark.
Yeah.
Okay, and ouch. So you don't want that. Right. So one thing you can do, of course, is we use tissue, right, to protect. So when we actually display them, you will find that we've got pieces of tissue layering, right, like a buffer. Right. So if you don't want to use that, you can actually use your dust bags. You place it such that, okay, the cover sits on the exterior. So you slip it in, right, okay, and the cover itself goes over. So your dust bag, again, is a buffer between these two, so your zipper doesn't press against it, and you don't have to buckle it in. So when you store your bags, right, okay, even for, let's say, your mess bags, right, okay, when you store your bags, you don't buckle the sangles.
Don't buckle the sangles. Both of us are like, I can see.
What about
Amy's
plastic flaps? The turn lock.
Yes. So here, for display purposes, right, and the bags are not here for very long, right? Okay, so we do buckle them up and when we display them, right? But at home, when you store your bags, you don't want to buckle them up, right? Two things. One, you don't want to stretch out your leather. So your sangles, right, they will get stretched out and sometimes they become floppy. And
Yeah. Noodles.
Yeah, they look like noodles.
Yeah,
right?
they look like noodles. And that's because of
overstretching.
Oh.
So when you keep it buckled, it overstretches. So you don't want to buckle it up, okay? So you would actually, when you store your bags, you would relax, right? To keep the shape, you don't buckle it up.
I am going home to unbuckle my Kelly, okay? Amy, I think yours is buckled. Is yours buckled right now?
Actually, my Birkin is never buckled.
Great.
I'm good. But all my Chanels are though, like a Chanel, the classic flaps. I always put the turn lock. So what about those? But I also keep the felt material, the original felt material,
Yes,
to
yes.
avoid the
So
crease line.
right. So it's actually best not to buckle them up.
Oh my god.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So when you buckle them up, what happens is the leather sort of can also stick together. Because when you buckle them up, they're pressed against each other, right? The leather, and that actually, after some time, when you open up your bags, right, sometimes you find that they actually stick together, and then when you are removing them, right, you hear this, that noise, and you're like hoping that it won't cause a peel, because that can happen when they stick together for too long and you remove them, the outer layer, right, there will be a peel. Okay, it also causes drying out, right? So stuck together, and then when you want
So open the bag. So this is Hermes. What about other like Chanel? How would you leave
Chanel,
it?
LV.
Yeah, would you leave it?
Yes.
Kind of like expanded.
Yes. So for Chanel as well, right? Okay. So your felt cloth, basically you would place it in between there, right? Okay. So you can go ahead and place it, right? But don't have to squeeze it together in order to buckle up. So relax, basically let the leather bag, right, relax. So by leaving it open, okay. So two things. One, it wouldn't get that crease line, because of the pressure. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So sometimes when you buckle it up and you leave it, you also get your Chanel base, right? It flattens out, especially for the smaller ones, right? So you don't want that happening.
So
as well.
for Chanel bags, we store it upright. Oh, we haven't gone. Okay. We'll finish the whole like stuffing of the bag first. So you keep it relaxed and all
you
that,
keep
right?
it relaxed. Protect any, if there's a zipper. Sorry,
That's
thanks,
okay.
dear. So like this is a double flap, right? Okay. So you either put a felt cloth, okay, or you put. We prefer tissue, right? These tissues, because they also absorb moisture, right? After about 6 months, you can just throw them out and replace them, right? And they're gentle enough, and they're quite good in terms of being breathable, right? Okay, so the thing is, right, dust bags, boxes, whatever you put in, it has to be. Sorry, I'm dropping all the paper. Okay, it has to be breathable. Because if it's not breathable, then you are just trapping in all the moisture and the germs and the bacteria, right? Okay, so protect it, and you can put a piece of either tissue, right? Don't buckle it up.
Don't buckle it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my Chanel bag at home is buckled.
And
Mine too.
Okay,
You're gonna go after it, unbuckle all your bags. Right?
you see everybody after the show.
Who's unbuckling? Come on, comment in the section like who's unbuckling their bags right now.
So the chains, okay, for Chanel, right? Okay, they have these beautiful chains.
Eileen's unbuckling now.
Unbuckling right now. So wrap them up again in tissue, right? Or if you're going to be placing it against the leather, again, just buffer, and then you can store it like that as well. Just make sure that it's not directly in contact with the leather, the chain, because they would, of course, leave some press marks on it. All right. Best thing, right, is you sort of wrap them up, and then you wrap them up with this tissue. First, and then we would actually put another layer below, and then we would place the chains on top of it. Right. So it's like wrap the chains, place the tissue, and then you place
this is what I do
on top.
Perfect. I did this.
Perfect, right? Okay, so it's just to protect the leather from any press marks that might be caused.
There is one more thing that we do, which, maybe I'll let Amy. How do you stuff your bag, Amy?
So I was going to ask that. I was going to ask for bags, especially there are some bags that have less structure and you want to maintain the structure. So the way I stuff it, I actually just use if I have a custom organizer, like the felt organizer, that's what I use inside my bag to keep the structure. But otherwise, I've always just used those, those, what do they call
The
air,
Bubble
yeah, the
wraps,
air
wraps.
bubbles.
Yeah.
But usually I just use the custom organizers because I always end up getting one over time anyway for the bag, and they're custom to the size. So I just leave them inside. Is that okay?
Okay, my turn. Wait. Let me finish
Yeah,
mine.
you go ahead.
Okay, I've got
She's gonna.
I've got a lot to say.
She's got a lot to say about us keeping our bags with organizers and wraps. Okay, so anyway, for me, I depends. Some bags I have organizers, so I'll leave them inside. But most bags I don't. What I do is I actually brought it because let me show you. This is my little hack. So I keep all these papers. I keep all these papers from bags, from boxes, and when I was using my bags for like a longest time, I hate every time I take out my bag, I have to pull out one by one. I have to pull out, if there's a bigger bag, it's like 20 of these papers all coming out, which is so annoying. So what I did was I bought one of these like wash bags from Daiso because there are like lots of holes.
Yes.
And I'll put them all inside and then I'll squish it and then I'll put this in the bag. And it's kind of like absorbent, I hope.
Okay, so two things, right? Okay, it's great. Okay, we actually do the same thing here. We use our bags, cloth bags, right? Bags to put in when we have to got a bigger bag, like what you mentioned, right? Okay, so that we don't end up pulling out one by one. Okay, and of course, yes, we always use our tissue as the filler. Yes. So, what is it that we don't want to use as to keep the shape of the bag?
Okay,
right?
don't want to use as so this is okay.
This is okay. So tissue, yes, as long the key word is breathable. Whatever you put into your bag needs to be breathable. So if it's something that's not breathable, like plastic.
Yes, this is something that I learned because I came in, had a chat with Jana earlier, and I had a shock when you're not supposed to use bubble wrap.
Yeah,
as
or any plastic, right?
Or any kind of plastic, like those, Hermes gives that, that puffy pillow.
Yes, yeah.
Plastic one.
Yes.
You're not supposed to use that.
Okay, so they give it to you, right, in for shipping purposes, right? So for them, for shipping purposes. They just want to keep it because that can actually be deflated or inflated depending on how much you need,
right?
How much
Just
air
poke
you
a hole,
need.
right?
Yes. So it's convenient in terms of shipping. Right, so that's the purpose for them giving those plastic bubbles for long-term storage. So once we bring home the bags, right? Okay, when we store the bags at home or anywhere for that matter, we don't want to keep it in there. Take it out, okay? Replace them with these breathable tissues, right? And please remember to
change them every
out
6 months.
6 months, yes.
Throw them away.
Right? Okay.
So no bubble wrap.
No bubble wraps.
Why?
Okay. Because it's not breathable. Right, and so the plastic sometimes can even stick to the interior of the bags. Right, the plastic would melt sometimes because of the heat. It can stick to the bags. It causes mold to breed because it's not breathable. Right, so here this is relatively inexpensive. You can, if you have a lot of bags, for example, you can actually get like a ream of this, 30 pieces, right? Okay, and then you can shape it. For bigger bags, you can make them into balls, right? Or you can, what we do is for the front flap, right? We sort of square it, and then we put it in the front so that it maintains the shape. Okay, inserts. Okay, I heard inserts being mentioned. Okay,
Amy, don't do it.
So inserts, right, are great when you're using your bags. Okay, they do help to keep the shape of your bag. It protects the base, right? So all this we need to do when we're using the bags. But when we're storing the bags, you don't want to leave your inserts inside your bag, right? Okay, because what we've seen is it tends to leave a line. Okay, so for example, because most of the inserts don't go all the way up, they sort of stop halfway. Right, so
even the thinner inserts.
Yes,
even the thinner inserts.
Because
really,
two things. Your cloth is not breathable, right? So it's going to be absorbing the moisture,
You mean the inserts is not
Yes.
breathable?
Yes. Yeah, because
Okay.
it's usually fabric. It's made from
Felt?
felt as well, traps.
Traps.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so you don't want to leave it inside the bag permanently for storage. And the other thing, of course, is that it seems to leave a press mark. So you can actually see a line running across where your insert ends. And that's because you're actually supposed to store your bags lying down. You don't stand your bags upright. When
Even
you
for
are
a
storing.
Chanel?
Yes. Yes.
But then it will leave. Okay, no, we're
Okay.
jumping all over the place. Okay, so
Okay, so why do we suggest
Flat.
that you lay flat, right? Okay, these bags, right? The shape is basically maintained by the edges, right?
this
Yeah, the piping, the
the
outside,
piping.
right? The side, right? So that's what keeps the shape of these bags, and you want to keep them as straight as possible. Okay, so when you keep them upright.
The gravity pulls.
Yes. So it's nothing we can do. It's basically gravity that is going to pull the sides and it's going to cause that slouchiness. Or sometimes with some leathers like Epsom, you end up with like ruffles by the side, right? Okay. So it's again, it's nature because of the way it is. Being kept upright, gravity is pulling it downwards. So to prevent that, we always recommend that the bags be made to lie down, right? And without the insert, okay, you use the tissue. Okay, put it on the front. Okay, so how would we then? Oh, thank you. So you can like this. It'll be perfect. Just shape it, and the flap. Okay, so your flaps, right? Again, like what you were saying earlier, you don't buckle it up. Okay? You don't buckle up the sangles because it would stretch out the sangles.
Yep.
And also cause it to stick sometimes and leave press marks as well. So you would actually just push, and that's basically how you would
Store it at home.
At home.
So like this, and then at home like that.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's talk about Chanel because we do have a lot of Chanel lovers as well.
Yes. So for Chanel, same thing. All the chains, right, need to be protected so that it doesn't leave a press mark on the bag itself. Okay. And okay, so with Chanel, because of the pocket as well, right? Okay. To a certain extent, right? Okay, because it's a shorter bag as well, you can leave it lying, standing up for a couple of months, but don't leave it like that permanently. So this you can rotate. Maybe 3 months it should be standing, and then let it lay flat for another 3 months. So you sort of, alternate between upright and laying the bag down. Then you would help to keep the shape as it's supposed to be.
But then, of course, if you lay it flat, wouldn't we kind of depuff
the bag? Is it actually? Because it doesn't, you wouldn't be laying it on a hard surface. So again, what do you lay it on? Okay?
Yeah.
So your dust bags are great for that. Okay, you can actually lay your dust bags or even a tissue or something right on the shelf, and then you lay your bag down, not on the bare shelf, right? So here, what we've actually given is we've got felt. It's like sort of like a carpet sort of consistency. So there's some support. So it's not lying flat on hard surface. So your walking wardrobes and your cupboards and all that, right?
Use a dust bag or use something soft.
Yes, and then you lay them on so that it doesn't press against the back and cause
like a carpet, kind of like a carpet, right? A soft.
Yeah, something fluffy. No, you wouldn't want fluff.
Don't fluff.
Not fluffy. No, but you get the idea. Something basically to support so that it's not on hard wood or shelving.
Or glass.
Or yes, even glass. Yeah. So when you store the bags, it's best to lay them down, not upright, because gravity would actually pull down on the sides and cause it to become sort of slouchy.
Wow. Okay, we've had some questions.
Yeah, so Jana, I'm wondering the same thing because I know you speak a lot about in the tropical where you live in the Singapore area, and that's what you do. But for example, this question from Annie, for Chanel Classic flaps, you mentioned to wrap the handles with the paper um, and then also lay the paper on top of another tissue. But doesn't that dry the leather out?
Okay, so again, the tissue is breathable, right? So it
Okay.
is not how to say, it's not a barrier as such between the environment and the leather itself, right? Because it's breathable, right? There's still some contact with air. So it shouldn't be drying out. So the drying out is not caused by covering it up. The drying out is basically caused by the lack of humidity in the air, in the environment, right? So that's what causes the drying out, I would say.
Okay.
So the reason for covering up the chains, right, is so that it doesn't leave press marks on the leather, on the flaps.
Right.
So that's why we recommend the chains to be covered up and also another layer of tissue to be placed before actually placing the chains on the bag itself. Yeah.
Actually, about the chains, can we also use the felt material that we get from Chanel, or like to cover the chain, or does it have to be tissue?
No, it should be fine. But you see, there's also how to say leather that's woven into the Chanel chains, the straps. So with felt, it doesn't allow the leather to breathe. So breathability, right, is very, very important so that the leathers don't dry out or trap humidity. Right. So anything that's breathable. So that's the rule of thumb. It has to be breathable. Then when we store it, right, it doesn't damage the leather. Actually, storing the bags, right, does more damage than actually using the bags.
Yeah.
So when you use the bags, again, the natural oils and the fact that we bring it out, so it sort of comes into contact with the air. It keeps it in like optimal condition, rather than when we store the bags, right? That's when you actually need to pay special attention. Make sure
That's interesting. Yeah, because I've seen like some bags that I use so often, but actually they look so good.
They still look beautiful. So
stop keeping your bags, basically.
Don't keep use them. Enjoy them.
Yeah, and keep a good collection where you can rotate enough, right?
Yes. So rotating the bag. So when you are storing your bag, what are some things that you can do to keep your bags looking great, right? Okay. Rotating the bags, right, is a great tip. You of course then get to use all your bags, right? And if you love a particular bag, for example, and you're always using that same bag, right, they do tend to get worn out.
Yeah.
Right?
The bags.
Yeah.
The bags. Use them.
So, no, you would like to give every bag a chance, to bring it out, so to speak, right? Okay. So your bag inserts are really handy in that sense. So when you're shifting between bags, when you're rotating your bags, right, just use the bag insert and then you take out everything and you put it. So I know I am guilty of not rotating the bags because it's such a hassle sometimes. I always forget something. I'll leave out something. I'm changing
I
bags.
really don't like to change out my bag sometimes. It's like, I left that in the other bag.
Yes, that always happens to me. So I find that bag inserts are useful for this. So when using the bags, the inserts are a godsend. So
but not for storage.
Not for storage. So that's something that you would have to keep in mind. So rotate the bags, right, so that no one particular bag gets too worn out, right? And also they do need to rest as well.
Yeah.
So that we don't overuse any particular
bag. Okay, there's a question.
Yeah, so this question is about storing Swift Birkins. Laying them flat could leave marks on the back pocket, right?
Okay, so the Birkins
have a pocket on the inside.
On the interior, yes. So we do sometimes see even the inner pocket, right, leaving press marks.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same thing that we do for the Chanel bags, right? For softer leathers that are a little bit more sensitive or prone to press marks, right? Rotate, alternate between, laying flat and putting it up straight. Okay. So when you take out your bags to actually so most of the time what happens is when the ladies take out the bag, that's a chance for them to model, oh yeah, I have this bag. Okay, so they will like, oh no, carry it, see how it looks and things like that. So at that point, also observe your bag, right? Okay, if you start seeing a line, a press mark appearing, right, then okay, so this bag needs to be put upright. Right, so listen to the bags, whether you're cleaning it, or whether you're storing it and all that, right? So always, the moment you start seeing something wrong, okay, so I need to play around and change it up a little. Okay, so you can't always leave it in one position, right? Okay, you need to maybe lay them flat for a while and then put them up straight again. Right? Okay, that's a great question about Swift. So Swift is one of those leathers that are absolutely gorgeous.
But they're hard to care.
It's not hard, I would say. It just needs a little bit more TLC.
It's more, delicate.
Yeah, it's a little bit more delicate and sensitive in that sense, right? Okay, but you have this beautiful, buttery, sort of luscious sort of leather, that the bags look gorgeous.
The colors
just pop, right, in Swift, right? But that also means that you need to pay a little bit more attention.
It's like lambskin.
Yes, very
lambskin is so beautiful, right?
Yes.
It's luxurious, it's soft, especially those brighter colors in lambskin. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
But it's the same. You have to be more
So pros
careful.
and cons for every leather. Every leather, there are pros and cons,
So how about patent leather? How do you clean and store patent leather?
Leave it to the experts.
Oh.
That's another leather, right, that's best to leave to the experts, because there's a high chance that you can actually cause the shine to come off, or when you use something, if it's a little too harsh, for example, patent leather, right, the chances of something going wrong are higher. Because it's ultra shiny leather, so scratches and all that, right, sort of jump out because of the contrast that you can see. So patent leather is one of those leathers that's best left to the experts.
What about storing it, like home storage?
Home storage, same principle. Make sure there are no press marks. Make sure that whatever you use to protect it is breathable. Again, that one, right, instead of every 3 months, perhaps every month or so, right, change the position. So lay them down for 1 month, put it upright for another month.
Wow.
So
but I guess the lesson of this, right, when I'm hearing is like, use your bags. Don't be laying them for 3 months. Don't be
True.
Right. Don't be keeping them in their own position for 3 months. Take them
use
out
them
and
out.
use.
And
Good,
one
good.
more thing about the chains. How do you clean the chains, I guess? Store, I think we talked about store, Chris.
This is a good question, yeah.
So we actually use a leather balm, a hardware balm, right, which is safe for leathers, because certain hardware balms, right, are fine for those metals, right, but when it comes to contact with leather, it can leave marks or stains on it. So
You
need
have
to
your
find
hardware
some-
balm here.
It's sold out.
Oh no! I'm like, I need the hardware balm.
It's
But
sold
actually,
out.
that's the hardest part to clean, because it's you've got like, when you take this up, you've got the
It's interwoven.
it's
right?
interwoven.
So you need to find something that works for both the hardware and safe for the leather. Very, very important. So you would actually clean it down same way, right? Take a little bit of the cleaning product and then you just sort of polish it, and it would
Clean the lead.
clean the
Clean
hardware. Yeah, so that it doesn't tarnish. Right, there's no tarnish and
I
oxidation.
have a
that's
question
going to
about
happen.
hardware later, but okay.
But you have to make sure that it's safe for leather as well, because of the way it is.
It's sold out, unfortunately. Even I'm like, where is it? I'm going to be walking home after this session with so many things.
To a certain extent, right, the leather gel can be used, I suppose, right? Okay, because it's got a cleaning component to it as well. So you can use it, but it's not a dedicated hardware balm, so to speak.
Right. Okay. Let me just take another banner. So since we're talking about hardware, let's do this one. Overall care. So you just recommending like clean, scratches.
Okay, before I just have something else that I want to share, because this is something that we see quite often in terms of for storage. So I've got a ruly here. Okay, so I've got a MS Ruly here. So any bag that has got your buckles like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Constants, like the one that I have. Oh no.
So especially for Ruly, Halzans
Halzans.
as well, where you have the hardware in the front and you have a flap that goes in, right? It's very common to see press marks caused by the buckle.
Hey,
So
Amy,
when
you should
you
bring
keep
your bag. Your
Yeah, I will show it. Yeah, but I leave
She
the
has
felt
the-
material though.
she has the Della Cavalleria.
Ah,
So it's kind of similar, right?
Yes.
So a bag.
with the flap,
with
outer
the-
flap,
yeah.
right? Which is yes.
There you go.
Lovely. Oh wow.
That's how I store it.
Yeah. Okay.
The original
So,
felt.
original felt. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, to a certain extent that helped, but the best thing, right, is not to slide it in.
Oh, so
Because
just
it
leave
would
it open like that, right? Like that.
Yes.
Ah,
So
okay.
your felt cloth actually sits on the underside. So if you notice, what we had was actually this on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay. And you would actually lay your flap over the buckle. Okay, so two things: it relaxes the leather, so it doesn't cause it doesn't stick to each other, and then cause a peel when you remove the flap. And of course, the other thing is press marks, right?
Mhm.
So I'm not sure whether it can be seen, but there's
Yes.
actually the outline
I
of
can
the press
see.
mark. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a little very
Yeah.
light. It's probably if you let it relax, it'll go away.
It will. Yeah. So you can actually buff it.
Ah, okay.
If you massage it, it becomes less obvious, right? Okay.
Prevention is still better than
Always.
cure.
Always. Right. So
So I should
you
leave it
don't
like
want-
this, right?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
God.
Yes. So okay, no, your flap there should actually be another layer buffering
No,
your
that's it.
hardware.
What
Yes,
other
okay.
layer?
Your buckle, right, should be
Yeah, the
against
buckle
the
just goes
leather.
in like this.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I should close
You
the
need it like
buckle
that,
and
maybe
just
put
like
the-
and
you
do
put the
this. Oh, I see.
Yes.
I see.
Because
Okay.
if it was resting against the flap, you would actually end up with,
with
a
a line
mark.
underneath.
Yes.
Yeah, no lines yet on mine. Still okay. Still good.
So to keep it like that, right? Okay, so we don't suggest that you put in the flap, right? So for
Okay.
any bags that come with a flap like this, right?
Any bags
best.
with flaps.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
it could be
you
any.
have to-
What about if, let's say, it was an LV bag, like
any bag.
any bag?
Yeah.
Oh,
Any
even
leather
if it's
bags.
canvas, yeah, because you can get the line.
Yes, you will get lines. Although the treated canvas
It's tougher.
it's more durable. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's easier to maintain,
Yeah.
right?
That's really good
Okay.
info. Okay,
So
let me.
yeah.
pull
Okay.
that.
So I just wanted to share that.
That's great. Thank you. Let's look at this one. Hardware. So we just talked about the balms, right?
Yeah.
So overall care, scratches, oxidization.
Yes. Okay.
How do you we peel out everything now? Amy and I, we
Oh
have
yeah. Peel.
peel everything. It's gone. It's
all
gone.
the seals.
It's gone. All the seals are gone, and I think that's we want to keep it pristine, right? So
Okay, so that balancing act is if this is a question that we get asked very, very often, right? Okay, so to peel or not to
to
peel?
peel or not to peel? Let me just take my belt out. I brought my belt because I wanted to ask about oxidization.
Right.
But because my belt, which is my Kelly belt, it's the same hardware anyway.
Yes.
I
Reverts.
finally peeled it because I saw oxidization.
Yes.
But anyway, your question, the question, to peel or not to peel?
Okay, so why do people not want to peel off?
Scratch?
Yes. Okay, so it would you would expose the hardware under the sticker, the seal, right? Okay, and it will end up with hairline scratches because when you put in the sangles and then the turn lock causes hairline scratches. Over time, your nice shiny buckle, your sangle is going to become less shiny. You don't want that to happen, right? So to prevent that, people leave the sticker on. Right now, what's the problem with leaving the sticker on? Your rivets, especially, is the first thing to go. Okay, which is basically the four corners, the nails, right, that used to hold your hardware in place. They interact with the glue on the seal, and that causes oxidation. So
Is the glue?
it's the glue.
Oh, it's the glue.
So it's the glue that's causing that greenish. First, it turns a slight green, then it becomes a darker green, and then it will become brownish. Okay, so that's sort of the gradual change that we will see in the rivets. So the oxidation usually starts with the rivets, right? And once you see that happening, right, you know it's time to remove the seals. So it's sort of safe to leave your seals on
Initially, a little bit,
even up to a year. Usually, it's perfectly fine. Yeah. Okay. But once you see it changing color, right, remove the seals. Now that oxidation that you see it's reversible. When it initially happens, you just need a polishing cloth, or like a jewelry polishing cloth,
That
or
helps.
hardware gel, right? And then you just clean it off, and it's as good as new. Right, so that is reversible initially, right? So it's not a big thing. The good news, of course, is that the newer seals from Hermes, right, actually have these cutouts where that's why you realize that the shape of the seal has changed.
You mean the older ones
complete.
Oh,
It completely overlays the whole, except for the center.
Right.
But again, we do see that it's not that consistent. So even some of the newer bags, right, do come with the whole seal in place.
see.
Yeah. Okay. So the best thing is, again, listen to the bag. Right. Okay. So you can leave the seals on. The moment you see the oxidation happening, remove the seals. You polish it off, and it'll be as good as new.
Okay, I have a question on this, right? So one of the things that for me that indicates, besides looking at oxidization, that indicates when it's time to remove the seals is when I start to get doggy ears. You know, when
yes, of course.
when it's sort of like coming, but it's not a lot. It's just a little bit.
Yes.
You know, from rub. Is that an indication? Like, take it out, or can I still leave it for a little bit more and like tahan? You know, like resist.
Okay, that's the aesthetic part of it, right? You have such a beautiful bag, and then you have this little edge of the flap that's up. So people, I'm a little OCD, I would say, right? I'm like, oh God, I cannot. Please, let's remove it.
But it's still okay. I mean, let's say if I'm not OCD because I just want to be like, I want it shiny leather.
You want to keep it shiny,
shiny
for as long
as possible.
As long as possible, that's perfectly fine.
It's perfectly fine.
That is again, our humidity is causing it to flap up.
Oh,
so there's humidity getting into the sides,
right,
getting in. So it's losing its stickiness, right, and therefore that's why it's flapping up
and could bring moisture. Okay,
yeah. So but I mean, can I remove it?
I've done it. We've done it. Because it actually happened to my my hardware on my Kelly belt. So I had the sticker on for a bit. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, the sides where the rivets are, it was more orangey.
Yes.
Then it was more orangey than the rest of it. So when I peeled it out, I was like, oh no, my Hermes
I don't know whether
buckle.
you can see it, but they see that.
Yeah. I would leave it there. It was there. It was happening. It was like getting a bit of darker.
Yeah.
The rivet section was darker. But then I'm looking at it now, it's kind of gone. So
you can actually clean it off because it's superficial.
I see.
It's superficial. So if you were to polish it, it will actually come off.
Okay.
Now, having said that, right, try not to polish or clean your hardware too often, right?
Oh.
Because these are basically coated. It's gold plated. Right, Chanel as well as Hermes, right? It's gold plating for the hardware. So the more you clean, right, you're actually literally rubbing it off. So not too often, right. So it's recommended not
just
to
give it a bit
often.
of a wipe away the oils and all.
That's fine, but no like hard rubbing and all, right? So that you don't wear it down the hardware. Yeah. So otherwise some of the coating might come off.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Right. Of course, the other thing, right, is the seals on the guiders for your Birkin.
Yeah.
Right. There are also the seals on that. Those we recommend to remove.
Take it out.
Yeah. So the turn lock and the sangles, you can leave them on. But the reason is that it sort of rubs against the leather when it goes through. So it's best to remove the seals on the guiders themselves.
Yeah.
And so in terms of preventing scratches, right? So the seals can be on for a little while, but once you see the oxidation happening, right, do remove them, and you can just clean it off. Okay. The other place that we actually do see scratches, right, would be on the feet. So the MS seal, the bags originally come with seals on the feet, right? Okay. You can leave them on. Right. Most often it's not visible, right? So it does prevent, because it sits. That's where most of the weight is when we leave our bags on any surface, right? There are also caps right now. There's these protective caps, right, which are great.
Oh, those caps are good?
Yeah.
Okay.
But when you store them,
take them out. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Makes sense.
So when you're using it, right, so you can use the inserts, you can use the protective caps and all that when you're using the bags. When you're storing them,
take them all
out. Yeah. Okay. So you can prevent scratches. The other thing, of course, is when you're using your Birkin, especially we see this quite often, right? It is usually not buckled. You don't use your bag, your Birkin all buckled up, right? So it's usually opened, and your sangles would be in the guiders. Okay, so this is a common way that we see a lot of Birkins being used. Okay, so yours at the moment it's not in the guiders
because it's too big.
Okay, yeah. So if you don't need that wide opening, okay, this is how you would actually carry the bag. But what happens is when you want to access the inside, you just tend to open up
and it will scratch.
Yes. So you see that the guiders actually scratch your hardware. So when you want to actually access, right, it's best to pop them out of the guiders so that you don't end up with scratches. Right? We've actually seen like a brush stroke against the hardware, because the guiders, right, they are so consistent, the way that they open up, the amount that they open up to access. So there's actually, it's very precise. There's just like a
scrape.
Yeah, like a scrape, exactly. Right. So to avoid that, it's best not to put it into the guiders when you are accessing your bag.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So again, your Birkin as well, when you store, don't buckle them up.
Yeah. Don't buckle them
Don't
up.
buckle them up. And when you lay your Birkin down, because it's got a double handle, right, you have to support your top handle as well. Otherwise, you end up with a concave bag.
Oh.
If you lie it down, and then you have, if you don't support the top handle, right?
How will you support the top handle?
Okay. Ta-da! Tissue, right? Roll it up, ball it up, okay, and then you can. First of all, the bar here is actually the heaviest part of the bag, so support that as well, and then you roll another piece. And let me just get more tissue. Okay. And I've got a small piece here. You would want a bigger piece. To when you lay it down, okay, you support your handle.
And I guess it doesn't even, it's not even like a Birkin bag. Like maybe if you have like any kind of bag with a double handle,
yes,
you should store it this way.
Yes. So I did a very quick job, and you realize that it's actually a little bumpy, lumpy, right? You don't want that. So you shouldn't overstuff your bag.
Yeah, we know that.
When we store the bags,
right?
Yes, when we store the bags, we don't want to overstuff it and stretch out the leather. So everything that we do, right, we just want to keep it in the original shape as much as possible, right? So shape it accordingly, use the correct amount, right? So these tissues are really easy to work with.
Yeah.
Right? So you can use more or less accordingly. Okay? Support it. Basically, your flap needs to be straight. Then the sides are straight, and the shape would be straight. And looking like a brand new bag.
All the time.
All the time. That's great.
Okay, we have like 15 minutes left.
So fast?
I told you 2 hours will go really quickly. Because when we were discussing this session, and Jana was like, 2 hours? What do you talk about 2 hours? And he's like,
wow,
trust us, it goes by so quickly. So maybe we should take all the remaining, we quite a few questions.
Anything?
Yeah, so Amy's looking for the questions. I see.
Yeah, so we do have questions. I just don't want to, because I know you answered some of them already, but then they're kind of repeat questions. So I'm going to go through them again. Best way to store aircon. Tissue paper. Oh, I think I saw one about I can't see it now, but it was about the canvas on the LV bags. When those are sticky, does it mean that it's moldy?
Okay, so with LV, the canvas is actually coated,
Right.
right? So it could be that the coating is not necessarily mold for those because of the coating, right?
It could be melted.
Yes.
Oh.
So you can either way, right? A quick clean of the whole bag, right, would do good. You know, so we wouldn't know what's the cause of the stickiness, right? Because the stickiness is basically what we see, right? So
A quick clean first and then assess it, right?
yes, and then see how it is, and then of course check the environment in which it's kept, right? Because if there is mold, right, it wouldn't be like only on one bag, because it can get transferred. It's airborne. So if you see that happening in your other bags, then you know the cause is mold, right? If it's only on a particular bag, right, then it could be that perhaps something is sticking to the exterior of that one bag alone, right? So either way, clean and then assess and see what could be the cause.
I see. So if it's still sticky, then it could be something else, basically.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
How do you clean shiny crocodile?
Again, with the experts. So exotics, right? Okay. One, they are high value item, right? You don't want to sort of do a trial and error and then, sort of like, oops.
Yeah.
That's one thing, right? Of course, the other thing is that crocs and alligator, all the exotic skins, right, a little bit more sensitive, right? Because of the dyeing process, especially, so the colors and all that, right, might actually fade or, something like that more easy. So here, our crocs and most of our exotics, right, even in terms of lighting, right, we keep them in this special low wattage sort of lighting displays, right, because a harsh light would actually cause the color to fade. Right, so your cupboards, the lighting in your cupboards, right, is it in direct light? Is it under harsh lighting? Things like that is something that you might want to take a look at.
You can't see it at the back. So here at the store, all their cabinets here are specially designed.
Yeah.
Even the way it's laid out, there's this little very, very soft like spotlight that I can see. You can't see, but there's this very nice soft light that is designed specially for caring for displaying your bags.
So we actually use a 1 to 2 wattage lights on these bags. Typically, right, I think I'm not sure, but I think it's like 10-15 watts normal house lighting, right, in your cupboards, right, it will be about 10 to 15. So these are really, really low wattage lights. We learned, right, that these are the same sort of lighting that's used in museums, right, for antiquities, so that it doesn't cause damage to what's on display, right? So we use the same principle when we were actually designing the store here, right? Because like I said, these are high value items, and what's the best way to maintain them?
This question has led me to another one, because we get a lot of on YouTube, if you watch some of the YouTubers, you have these pigeonhole backgrounds, the one the IKEA, the square ones.
Yeah.
And so I guess those are okay. Those are okay for
short-term display.
Yes. But not for long-term display.
No, because it's exposed, right? So your bags need to be protected. So if it's in an exposed environment like that, right, okay, you're going to have like dust settling into the grains of your bag. And then, once it gets into the grooves and all that, it's difficult. So you should actually have them in a closed cupboard, right, so that dust doesn't fall on them. There's no direct light on these bags, right? And you can store them in your dust bags, but like I mentioned,
take them out.
You have to take them out so that it's breathable. Or you can just lay it with a piece of tissue over it. So these tissues are so useful.
Where do you buy these tissues? Like, I think there was
stationery shop.
Oh, stationery shop. Why in Singapore, Shopee?
Yeah, stationery shop, right? This is basically the tissue, like, if you were to go into your clothing stores as well,
Yes.
right? When you get your clothes, they wrap it in this and then they pass it to you because it's gentle. So the same thing, you can use it as a filler, you can use it as, you just put it over your bags, right? And so you just lay them over so that it doesn't have direct contact, so the dust doesn't fall on them and things like that. So these are really useful. Okay, and of course, it has to be non-scented. There's a scented version as well.
Right. Non-scented.
Can we reuse the ones that we get from the stores up to like 6 months?
Okay, you don't know how they have been storing it because so these sort of absorb moisture, right?
Oh,
so
you have already been
fresh
used.
So you can reuse them, I suppose. Just make sure that it's clean, that it doesn't have any smells on it and things like that. And but you wouldn't want to keep it for 6 months, maybe 2-3 months, and then change it out.
I see.
You can recycle them.
Right. Okay.
Every year. Yeah. Okay. So it's a changing them.
You have to change them after some time because like I said, it does absorb the moisture. So if you leave it in there, right, it becomes a breeding ground.
Oh,
as well.
it becomes the reason that you get
yes,
mold.
Yes.
So okay.
So it has to be
sense.
changed
Makes
out.
sense.
It does have to be changed out
every year. Change every year. Okay.
At least.
At least.
At least once a year, preferably 6 months.
Right. So we have 2 more questions. Well, really, it's one more, but I keep seeing I'm Julia repeat the same question, so I'll post it again. Actually, let's go back to her question because we already answered it, but you might have to rewatch it. So she's asking, I have a vintage Chanel lambskin. Should I send it to the spa for cleaning if it's dirty? I am afraid it will alter the buttery quality of the lambskin. So she did it 3 times. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just throw it again.
Yes. I mean, this one is like, just tell them don't
recolor.
Don't recolor your bag.
Yeah.
Just keep clean.
Yes. So most reputable bag spas, right, would actually know how to handle these vintage leathers, right? The key is not to use anything too strong, right? Because all these bags actually come with a protective layer. So the leathers, right, whether it's Hermes or Chanel, I think any bag, they do come with a protective layer. But as they age, as it's used, this protective layer wears off, right? So for especially older bags, right, how you clean it and what sort of cleaning materials you use on these, right, it becomes even more important, right, because they don't have that natural protection anymore, right? So even at the spa or even at home, it's best not to use anything that's too effective or too strong, So start off gentle and then see how it reacts, and then work more of the product into the bag. Right. Okay. So same thing for these bag spas that you send your bags to. Right. Okay. Check with them.
What they use,
how
they
clean it. Yeah. Have a chat with them, or go with a recommendation. For example, someone has used it, and recommended it to you. Things like that. Yeah. So so just have to be a little bit more careful when it comes to these older bags. Yeah.
So basically leave it to the experts. But if it's just for herself, her maintenance, she can just use a microfiber cloth and just dust it, right? Like that's
dust
okay.
it, and a very gentle cleaner, right? Okay. Start off, do a spot test, and then go the whole bag.
And spot test where you can't see, like if it's a Birkin,
on the interior,
the sangles, it may be like Chanel bags, maybe under the flap.
Yeah. Okay, somewhere discreet, in case something happens, you don't want to see that blotch right in the front of your bag,
Right.
So,
and I also wanted to mention earlier when I said that I use Eco Wipes, I only use it on black bags, and so far I've been fine. I don't use it on my colored bags, which I don't have many anyway. So that is why I'm sort of comfortable doing that. But after hearing what you said, I will just get like the proper gentler cleaner for bags instead.
Actually, I've not used those.
Okay.
I have them. They're quite I mean, they're quite like she said, juicy, right?
Yeah.
Juicy, but
But I use
I
a very
mean,
small, like a cutout.
use a small
Yeah.
little amount. I guess they're okay, but again, how do we spot, like, do the whole section of that, right?
Yeah. So there's no one product that's the best or one product that's not good. You know, so as long as you've actually tried it on a small part of your bag and it works for you, right? Okay, no harm in continuing
I
to
see.
So kind of like
you know,
assess, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
True.
So whichever
Right.
product that we are using, right, it's best to try it out, see how it is. If your bag, sort of accepts it, okay, fine, go ahead and do it, no. And so how do you know that the bag is not being affected, right? Okay, once it dries out, that area that you clean should not be too dark or too shiny or too matte. Basically, that
There's no change too much to that.
the original condition.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
makes
then
sense.
you know that your bag is it's fine. The cleaning product is fine for your bag.
Okay, good point.
You know,
Okay.
so then you can continue to use it on the rest of the bag itself. Yeah.
I see.
So because it's very difficult to say no, this brand yes, this
Yeah,
brand
it's
no.
hard to say.
Yeah,
'Cause
so-
it's like it's a moisturizer, right? You
Yeah.
don't know.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, look at Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, hi.
Joe wants to know what type of men's leathers that ages the most gracefully.
Okay, so these bags are meant to last.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'm assuming that you're wondering about the current leathers. Right?
Yeah.
Right,
maybe?
because the vintage bags, some of these leathers are discontinued.
True.
Right, okay. So the vintage leathers that you see in the market nowadays, they've already
Phase them out.
Yeah,
Can't get them
you
anymore.
can't get them anymore, and they've already been tested, right? And you know that they last. Sad thing is they don't exist anymore. So things like Togo, right?
Togo ages gracefully.
Yes.
Togo, if all those
I love Togo.
Okay, chef leather, okay, is another leather that ages very well. Okay, so when you say ages, right, it means that your bag, after a couple of 10, 20 years, 30 years down the road, right, they're still going to be looking like new, maybe not as perky as, but able to hold the shape. The leather doesn't dry out that easily. Okay. Another reason why Togo and Chef are some leathers that we mentioned is because it's a natural grained leather.
natural grain leather. Okay.
Yeah. So natural grain
Clemence?
leather. Clemence is also a natural grain leather, but because of the weight, right? What happens is
But it doesn't age gracefully. It will be a bit like
it would tend to become a little bit more slouchy, right? But that's a beauty on its own. You know, it's a look that some people actually love.
Right.
You know, that relaxed, slouchy look. Okay, so it's very subjective.
Yeah.
When you say which leather ages gracefully, you know, what is it that you look for in a bag? Do you like that structured look? Right? Then some people might say Epsom is the best. You know, because it keeps the shape. And I don't have to worry that it's going to go out of shape and all that. It's much easier to keep in shape. But again, Epsom leather, while it keeps the shape well, right? The moment there's something that happens to it, it's a bit difficult to reverse it. Whereas your Togo and your chef leather, right? Let's say there is a scratch and all that, right? Hermes can actually do a touch up on it, and you don't really see the difference. That touch up, right? It's not very obvious. You know, and like Clemence, right? It's a really sturdy leather, so it's very difficult to scratch. It's very difficult to you can really put in a lot of stuff in your bag, right? But it does become a little bit more slouchy.
Right. What about box?
Okay, so box again, gorgeous, keeps its shape. It's relatively lightweight, but the moment there's a scratch on it, it's very obvious because it's a smooth leather.
But over time, like, does it age gracefully for box?
Well, okay, so you have to be a bit more careful in terms of the scratches. So when you're using your bag, for example, try not to knock it against something or someone. You know, so if you're a little bit more careful with that, yes, box also ages really beautifully. You know. So all these bags, right?
Swift? What about Swift?
Okay.
We're all like, oh, what about Swift?
Again, as long as we maintain the bags, right? Okay, you keep them in good shape. You moisturize them, you clean them, you make an effort to make sure there are no press marks on it and things like that, right? Okay, any leather can age gracefully.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Any leather will age gracefully. It's a question of how much time and effort you want to put into it to keep them looking that good.
Yeah, true. True.
So if you can take any bag, you just have to spend more time working on them.
Yeah.
So with things like boxcar, for example, they do tend to dry out a little bit more easily.
Oh.
Yeah. So you see with even vintage boxcar bags, right? The sangles, for example.
Oh,
right?
They're like
no,
they got lines.
cracks.
Yes, I've seen those.
Yes. So those are all signs of dryness.
Dryness. Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to get a box bag anymore.
Good news is Hermes can change them all.
Oh, that's true. Hermes,
they can actually be replaced.
Yeah.
So
okay, we are at the 2-hour mark. Oh my God, that was so good. Really, that was really good. Any more questions? I think there were a few more, but kind of repeated, I guess, or we answered them.
I think we already answered them. You mentioned Epsom, as long as you keep basically the lesson to be taken here is that as long as you're careful with your bag to begin with, prevention is always better than to have to fix it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Even with Epsom, like I feel really comfortable with any leathers. I think just because of my nature, I'm just very careful to begin with. Yeah. But if I have to clean Epsom, is that gonna be okay too? Because that's not a natural grain leather. That's still okay to do the cleaning like you do, right?
Do your spot test.
Yeah.
Right.
Spot test.
And then after that, go ahead and you can clean it. Yeah. So when you clean Epsom, for example, right, sometimes we do see that the cloth, there's a little bit of color on it.
Right.
After we clean it, right, especially you might see the reds or the greens or the blues on your cleaning cloth itself. Okay, so that is basically not the color being stripped from the leather. There is a protective layer, usually in the same color as your leather, that they apply over it.
Oh.
So when you clean, there will be a little bit of color, that protective layer that comes off.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So but so after that, right, take a look at the bag itself, right? Is there any change? If there isn't, right, that means it's perfectly fine.
Oh, but actually the other day I used where is it?
The clean gel?
This one. I used this to clean my gold and nothing came off.
So it's the colors, like the reds.
The reds, the
neutrals.
rich.
Yeah. The pigments that they use, right? There is actually a protective layer that they coat it after the leather is done up and all like that.
Right.
So when you initially clean, you might see a little bit of color coming off,
And that's
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the neutrals we don't see that much.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So this is just a comment. Thank you so much for this session. I really learned a lot about looking after my bags and dust bags. Now off to the dry cleaner for my dust.
Yes, totally. I mean, a few takeaways from this is firstly, lay my bags down.
Yes.
Okay. To clean. To store.
Yes.
And if I'm not storing them for a long period, it's okay. But if long period, I kind of rotate them, right? Because of the piping.
That's right.
And then the other important thing is to relax it.
That one is the biggest one for me.
This one is
open the bags.
Open it out. Not even Hermes bags. Everything. Any bag. Chanel. Flap it all open.
You want it straight, not compressed pressed against
I'm going
each
home
other.
to open my bag.
You don't want that happening.
I'm tighten everything, lock it all. But now it's oh my gosh. Oh, thank goodness I found this out early, not years later. So that's another takeaway. And then I guess for a lot of us, it's also keeping the organizer in the bag when we store.
Yeah.
When we store,
don't
use
prefer
it.
not to leave it. Right.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I think I saw somebody say, please stock up on your cleaning things because people will come here. And I'll link everything below once I have it from them. I'll put the names and all. But probably you need to come and visit the store here in
Okay.
Pacific.
We have to get, I think, fresh stock in,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
I'll send you
Most
some,
of
Amy.
it.
Oh yes.
I'll send you this. I'll buy this
Thank
and I'll
you.
send it to you.
I need the cleaner.
The cleaner.
Yeah. So yeah,
No
BJ
rush.
Luxury. Your store is here in Pacific Plaza.
That's right.
Yeah, we're on the lower ground. The moment you come, you can see it straight. It's a beautiful store here. So thank you, Jana, for this. It was really, really.
I had a great time. I didn't realize that, the
I
time
know, it was
just
so
flew.
good. Thank you so much. You're always here every day, right? Most days.
Most days, yeah.
Yeah, you can come and visit here, and yeah, thank you. Maybe we should do another session, totally different
I
one.
would love that.
It was so fun, right?
Thanks, Amy, as well.
Thank you so much. I'm sure if we do another session, oh my gosh, we'll learn so much more that we didn't know.
Yes, actually, I learned a lot of things. Like, I mean, now it's like I got information overload on back hair.
Because I thought I was pretty good with, like, I've always had
clients that come in as well.
Yeah. And then if any of you are not following BJ Luxury, head on over to their Instagram. I think you have something like a BJ Luxury.
Yep.
I'll link it below as well. And then you have some live streams on Instagram every Tuesday.
Tuesday is our live show, usually at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, go there and you can ask questions like, oh my gosh, can you help me with this? And I think you also share the bags and all that. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, so we will see you next week. Next week's going to be on Amy's channel. Our calendar is already up, so you can check on our community page. And yeah, thank you, everyone. We will see you next week.
next
Bye.
week. Bye.
End this broadcast.